Well, it's great seeing everybody. Thanks for getting on board and trying to share a little bit of what's happening and some of the great things happening with our department. And then any questions that you have, I'm looking forward to do that. First thing I'd like to start off with is had a great opportunity on Monday to take a tour of the West Side Complex or the new press box. And I think many of y'all know that it has been a dream of mine for about 20 years. And, with Dr. White's vision and our move to Conference USA and being able to make that happen, that dream is coming true. And, when you look at the drawings and you see the outside of it, the depth perception of everything, how big things are, really is you can't really see it until you get inside a building like that. And it's bigger than I thought it would be. We've got a lot of space in there that we dramatically needed. Created a lot of great revenue space areas that we're going to dramatically need and have needed. And I'm just really excited about how it looks and how it's going to be. The other big part of that is, it's interesting when we started down this process about 3 years ago, first meetings with the architect and contractors and physical plant, they had a date on there of substantial completion date was supposed to be May 29th, 2026. And I told them, I said, I'm holding you to that. That date's not going to change, even if you finish early. And the reason why is because that's my birthday. And since I've taken 20 years to be a part of this, I wanted it to happen on my birthday. But I think we're ahead of schedule, or at least on schedule, to meet that. There's no doubt about the fact that we'll be in that facility this coming fall. And I think our fans and I know our staff and our university community is really going to appreciate it. And it's a great addition to what we have. So really excited about that and having the opportunity to see it in person, even though it's a construction site, was energizing and uplifting. A special time when we're trying to get everything that we need to get done. The other thing that I want to address is we've been working extremely hard to get in the game and revenue sharing and NIL. What we've been trying to do and the collectives and some of the other fundraising efforts that we've had to at least get us started the past few years, really taken a definite change the last few months. And a great credit to Dr. White, our president, and our senior vice president for finance and operations, Amanda Withers, working with me working with the coaches and our donors and trying to make that happen and getting a budget, so to speak, to get in the game at a extremely competitive level. And I think we've achieved that. Going through the recruiting process for football has been a unique experience for Phil and I this year, trying to revamp a squad, bring in new talent, retain talent. But I think what we've been able to do the past few months has allowed us to do that. And I'm really excited about that opportunity. When I talk about those two areas that are primary for us, with NIL revenue share and the different things involved with that, and then also the construction and the facilities idea, what people don't realize, and I'd like to emphasize this, is that especially with the facilities, is those are bonds that we are paying back. So generating the revenue, whether it be from major donations, individual donations, naming rights, ticket sales, suite sales, everything like that has to go to pay that debt service. And the more that we can generate and raise money offsets that so that we can redirect money for operations in the budget or revenue share NIL. And so it all kind of works together. I think in this new revenue sharing era, the most challenging thing is when you're explaining to people what it is. You have some that are totally against it from a donation level. They're used to giving to scholarships, or they're used to giving to help programs in enrichment account type situations. And so I think that education process has been a challenge, but what we talk about is you can help with the facility, you can still help with scholarships, you can still help with enrichment accounts. That's all needed. But we announced last week the Competitive Excellence Funds, which is basically directly related to NIL and rev share. And we've had a lot of positives from that process because we have people that are stepping up. They are understanding the importance of this. And I think that's what I'm most happy about and pleased with is the fact that people are, whether they buy tickets or whether they make donations, they're carving out a segment of that or they're increasing their donation or participation to help with this. Because I think they understand the importance in this day and age of roster management and talent acquisition and retention. And the interesting part about that also applies to our university enrollment in every phase. It can have a positive or negative effect on that. And I think the biggest thing that I'm pleased of is being able to get in the game at a higher level with this. Then we're able to also show the university from an enrollment standpoint how positive this is and how we're working to retain students and grow the student population from that aspect. The other aspects that come into play, not only with ticket sales and different things like that, but also sponsorships with our Van Wagner partnership and how important that is, especially with the new logo opportunities and not only, in the past with trying to sell court sponsorships and field sponsorships and different things like that, that all comes into play. But that partnership and the evaluation of who we are and what our value is extremely important to do. And then, of course, then you also have to look at and say what companies and what organizations want to be a part of that. And does our valuation rise to that particular level? So those are a lot of things that we're still in discussions with and we're still working on and have been working on from that area. And the other is university advancement. And Matt Bethay and Joe Reed, who works specifically with us in football and athletics, is really expanding that team and developing that so that we have a great core group of donors and people that have helped us for a long, long time. But we're expanding that, and that's a big critical part of expanding that base because it's becoming a numbers game for us here at Sam Houston to increase that, to try to continue to do what we need to do. This ever-changing world, I was in Conference USA meetings last week, and all of our athletic directors and presidents and our conference staff, the commissioner, Judy McLeod, we're all talking about the same thing, and we're all in the same situation. It doesn't matter what level of FBS you're at or Division I you're at, we're all dealing with the same things. It's just various numbers and different things like that. And trying to convince people what we need is just a little bit more challenging from that perspective. Finding the revenue streams is more challenging, but I'm really encouraged by what's happening because I think, at least in our Sam Houston base, is they're more receptive to some of these things that we're dealing with because they understand the importance of it. And so all those things that we're working on and have been working on, sometimes they don't move as fast as they should or we would like, but I think we're making a lot of progress. And to get in the game, especially during this time with recruiting and different things like that. And then I know Coach Mudge was on before me, and he and I were meeting this morning. Coach Justice and I will be meeting soon because we're trying to make sure that, the top 3 revenue producing sports here at Sam Houston is those are important and they are nationally that we can continue to grow and stay in the game with that. And then you also got sports like baseball. We're a baseball school in so many different ways and trying to help baseball and our other sports get in the game with the scholarship increases and get donations from that standpoint. So that's just 2 of the things that have been on my mind and forefront in what I've been focusing on and trying to get going from that era. But with that, I'll open it up to any questions that you have.
All right. Thank you, Bobby. Let's go ahead and get started with those questions. The first hand raised comes from Randy McElroy, KPRC.
Morning, Bobby.
Hey, Randy. How's it going?
Doing well, man.
Good.
Well. Look forward to seeing you soon. I was listening to all what you were saying there. I have a lot of questions. Some we'll do offline when you got more time. But growing the donor base, I know just dealing with the universities we deal with here in the Houston area as well. I'm sure you guys deal with it. The importance of that in branching out, whether it be the Houston market, Dallas market, whatever it might be. Do you want to get to a point? Is the goal get to a point where you're not continuing to go to the same people? I know schools in general, where you do get new donor base, new additions that are jumping in maybe for the first time, and you're not going to the same people necessarily for those types of requests. Is that the goal, to continue to build that? And how do you feel like, or what do you feel like you guys can do to further build the identity of Sam Houston in the markets like Houston, Dallas, wherever it might be?
You know, we've always, since I've been athletic director, and we have done that, expanded the base, so to speak. But we still have a lot of pressure on a small group of donors who have consistently been there over time. And we've been expanding from that. I know when we made the move to Conference USA, and I've said this many times, Dr. White asked me what my recommendation was, and I said, it really doesn't matter what my recommendation is. I just know this: when Coach Randleman moved us up to Division I from Division II back in the 80s, we made the move athletically. I'm not sure the university was totally behind it at that time. And I told her, I said, this has got to be an important part. It can't be an athletic decision. It's got to be a university decision. And she's supported that, and she's made all of this happen. You just look at what's been happening the past few years and all the changes, facilities, improvement in the budget, different things like that. She's played an unbelievable role in that, along with Amanda Withers as well. And, you know, that's important when you have that type of situation. The other areas was the expansion of the marketing and tickets and what she's done with IMC on campus, and how that we couldn't be out on our island doing it by ourselves, because it's a numbers game also in staffing and resources. So that has helped us in a lot of ways from that perspective. And also expanding university advancement with what Matt's done and Joe Reed and a lot of different things like that. Just expanding those options along with us and our staff, and having a better direction in cultivation and in expansion. And I think that's critical to what we're trying to accomplish and get done. You know, we have been able to be successful for a long period of time because of the fact that we've always done more with less. I don't think our department has gotten enough credit for that from our donor and fan base over the years. But the big game changer now has been this revenue share and all the different things that it keeps increasing. I think we could continue to do that at a high level if it hadn't have been for rev share. But now we're seeing a lot more volatility in the market from that perspective because of that. So now we're really stepping up and adjusting, making the right adjustments so that we can be more competitive and consistently competitive from that standpoint, while we grow the base, while they grow and get more people engaged, new people engaged. And, you know, we're working with so many different groups and constituents within the university community, internally and externally to grow that. And so I think that's a big part of what we're doing. It is a challenge. It is a challenge because it takes a lot of time and effort to create those new, but we also want to make sure that we're retaining what we have. And it's no different. It's funny because everybody talks about the transfer portal. You know, I've been athletic director here for 28 years, and I've always been in the transfer portal when it's come to coaches, because we've had coaches come, we've had come successful and different things like that. So we're always having to grow the budget, grow the staff, grow the salaries. And we've been dealing with that in that phase for a long time, and we've been successful. And you just look at the number of coaches and successful coaches that have come through here over those years. And now we're trying to take that approach too with the student athlete. You know, it's interesting because we've built this based on a quality environment, because it's a great environment here at Sam Houston. There's some things that we could do better, as a university and things, but as a whole, this is really great people to work with, great people to be around. You come in and make it better. You can improve yourself by moving on, or you can do like a few of us and make a life here and continue to grow it and move it forward. But I think the ability to get in the game from a financial standpoint and then have our environment and our culture for student athletes and staff, that gives us a chance to do that, because that's the way we were doing it before without the money. It's people wanted to come here and be a part of this, and it was a great working environment, great situation for student athletes, but we were starting to lose that game because we weren't in the financial game part of it. But now that's changing, and so now I think it gives us a really good opportunity to get more consistent in our competitive levels and continue to recruit quality student athletes and coaches who are a positive reflection on this university.
Good question from Ben Sorrells.
Hey, Ben.
Hey, Bobby, good to see you. Thanks for taking the time. In the recent release for the Competitive Excellence Funds, there was a $35 million budget that was released. What are some of the revenue streams that have allowed y'all to move from 28 million up to 35? And then on the other end, what are some of the expenses that additional money is going to go to?
Well, some of the expenses on that are a one-time type situation because of the transition with the stadium and playing in Houston and some additional travel that we've run into that are somewhat one time. I know that as we grew this income, a lot of it is television revenue, it's conference distribution, it's fundraising, it's ticket sale increases, it's university helping. Another thing that helps with that is the need for enrollment growth. That's the way we've done it for a long time because of the way the university has been growing, helping with the athletic fee, and some of those things that have translated. One of the things I told Dr. White this the other day that I'm proud of the fact was when I took over as athletic director back in 97, 98, I believe 93% of our budget came from the university, some form or fashion. But over the years, we got to the point right before our move to Conference USA where, it fluctuated that externally we were generating 30 to 35% externally, and, from the overall budget. When I moved to Conference USA, I was looking at the other day, and that percentages are in line with what we've done. So we've been able to grow our revenue from some new revenue streams that we had pointed out in making this move. I always go back to when we won the national championship and we played on ABC and ESPN and all that stuff, and people were telling me, "Hey, man, you're just rolling in money now with all that TV money." And actually, people didn't realize that it cost us $300,000 to help with production and some infrastructure that we needed to do during that championship run. And then our first year in Conference USA, and we struggled, but our revenue was just unbelievable. We're getting TV money, and we were getting some other revenue distribution. And so those things have helped, too, to keep us ahead of the game, and that's one of the reasons why we needed to make that move. The other thing with the revenue stream that's going to help us is the more that we generate to pay that bond, then when you get the suite dollars and the club dollars and some of the other fan experience areas that we're going to be expanding over the next few years, that revenue generation is new money that we haven't really had access to. And that's a big part of helping us to grow this budget to where we need to get it to be competitive, but also to get have more of an impact from the university involvement and investment to try to reduce that and not put more pressure on the university to help us grow.
Question from Colton Foster.
Hi, Colton.
Hey, long time no see.
Yeah, we had coffee together, right?
Yeah, pretty much. The Bearkat Excellence Fund, when it came out, it's set to help with baseball, football, men's and women's basketball. Just how long until that can be kind of expanded to other sports as well?
Well, it's more of a test case to try to grow that because those were the major emphasis that we had to have at that point in time. It doesn't mean that we're not helping with the other sports. We're trying to grow those with some of out of the settlement, the scholarship increases, and trying to get some of those donors to be able to assist with that. And that's going to be a positive from there. But the Excellence Funds, because of the way we are in football, basketballs, and then the baseball, because of our tradition as a baseball school and success that we've had, that's the first step in this rollout to try to get people engaged, and that's where a lot of our donations are coming from, those areas. They're a little bit more dramatic from that aspect, and so that's why that particular emphasis was in it. But the other sports are still, we'll still take anybody's revenue to help us with any of those sports.
Colin Neal.
Hi, Colin.
Hey, Bobby. You were mentioning the other revenue streams that y'all can make at at football. I was just curious. I know the NCAA just approved of sponsorship patches on jerseys. Is that an idea y'all have been exploring? And also, have y'all been exploring like field ideas, like field sponsorships?
We've been doing that for a long time. We have identified a lot of potential opportunities. That's where Van Wagner has come into play with their connections and done valuations on all those. We've been very aware of what those situations are. The biggest question is, we're trying to get on the situation where it matches what a company or organization's views our value is and what we view as a value. We don't want to undervalue our sponsorship in that regard, but we also don't want to walk away from something that's a positive. And we've been having a lot of those discussions in approaching certain vendors, certain companies, and we've had good discussions with individuals with that. But when you look at what our market value is, that becomes a big major part of this. And so we're evaluating several of those as we come into play. And a big part of that is because of the bond situation with the press box and some of the other things that we're going. That's a big part of playing to help us to pay for those bonds coming back and also free up some additional revenue to adjust it to whether it be an enrichment account or an excellence fund account. So that's always been in working. It goes a little slower than we'd like to do it, but we're also evaluating who we want to partner with. We do that every way possible. We're just not going to change the reputation of the university or anything like that with the wrong sponsor or the wrong partnership. So that's just the way we approach it and value. And we need the revenue. There's no doubt about it. We've improved that. Where we were 15 years ago when we started our sponsorship programs and different things like that have been dramatic increases over what we've done 15 years ago, but also more than I ever dreamed that we could do. When you look at who we are as a market and who we've been and what drives those market parameters, so to speak. But yes, to answer your question, we're working on it and we're continuing to work on it and looking forward to making it happen.
Get a question from Jonathan Buckner.
Hi, Jonathan. Hey, Jonathan.
So moving over to facilities a little bit, obviously we've been without a track and field facility for quite a while now, a couple of years, and obviously once we get that built, we'll be able to move some of those offices from the field house. We have more space for football and the likes of that. Where do we stand on getting that facility built?
Well, one of the things is when we first started looking at it, we looked at what we needed, how we needed to do it, because our track program has such a rich competitive history. Looking for land, looking for the right fit, where it's at. We've looked at Pritchett Field. We look at the land that's kind of northwest of Bauer Stadium that's currently a parking. We looked at our old at Holloman Field area, softball. We've looked at a lot of different things to do. And there's been positive and negatives from that standpoint, from a foundational standpoint, dirt work, everything like that. Each one of them had their own unique situation. And, when we started looking at it, most of the time you can build those for $3 or $4 million. But then you start, some of the initial things that came back were upwards to $15 million. And then got down to about 7 or 8 million. So we're still struggling with a funding issue, a cost issue from that perspective, and trying to see what we're looking at. We're also trying to raise some money to offset that as well. But, the university is working with us. We are trying to work on some partnerships to help us from a interim standpoint. But I was meeting with Dr. White yesterday and Amanda Withers, and it's a priority. It's been a priority. But with what we've done to Bowers, with the field, with the expansion of the field house, the renovation of the field house, and now with the press area, the press box area, the West Side complex, we've had a lot of focus on that particular areas. But we're in the process of trying to find the right situation and the right funding, and as we move forward.
Let's go ahead and get a question from Carlos.
And Carlos,
Hey, good morning, Bobby.
morning.
From a student interaction and participation and fan engagement standpoint, just some of the things that y'all have in the works to continue to drive that up, especially as football comes back around in the fall.
Well, I think we have a great opportunity moving into the renovated facility, and like you always say, you only get one chance to do it the right way. And I think working with IMC, University Advancement, athletics, and a lot of student organizations, student affairs, and alumni association, there's a lot of discussions that are going on, a lot of planning, a lot of growth from that opportunity standpoint to make it a great situation. And I know, while I'm not as direct on a lot of those discussions, I am pleased with some of the ideas and some of the things that are coming into play. The most challenging thing is getting Conference USA to get us a football schedule, so to speak, and some of the challenges that go with that. When ADs and presidents meetings last week, we were all kind of ready for that to happen, because everybody's trying to do family weekends and homecomings and all the different things that you've got. Plus, you're also working with the midweek games from that perspective. We're also looking at some concert opportunities that will help with rev share too. That will be an addition to some of that that will, we've done in the past, but it's been a long time since we've done that. But we have Sam Houston alumni that we're working with who's very engaged in that particular area, and we're really pleased that how that progress is going. And it's going to be an important part of us generating revenue for NIL and RevShare too as well. So those are some of the things that we're looking at, and I know staff in all those areas mentioned are working hard to make that happen.
Let's shift it on over to Lane Fobbs.
Elaine?
Question.
Just wanted to kind of get some of your thoughts on just taking off on football, just some of the overall general thoughts on just kind of the smaller kind of struggles from this past season. And then when you talk about the Educational Excellence Fund, I know sometimes you can see just the percentage that goes to each sport. What percentage is that by sport as you start off with that?
Good question. The struggles that we had in football, I think, we're seeing a lot more volatility with the portal and some of the things that everybody's dealing with. And now when you're getting into the financial aspect and some of the things that you're seeing nationally and some of the complaints that people are having, I mean, it's chaos right now. It's amazing. I made this statement the other day in a meeting. Is, we had 100 years of regulation, organization from a particular entity that worked in college athletics. And that's been destroyed through settlements and lawsuits and all the different things like that. And now with the Sports Commission, you're looking at trying to do the same thing, yet nobody's willing to sign in for that. So it's total chaos when it comes to that. And so I think that has affected so many schools. You're seeing it. I mean, look at us. We went 10-3 last year. Coaches change. we lose 55 players. A lot of those guys and our staff went to North Texas, and now some of them I think are heading to Oklahoma State. That's something that we've never dealt with. A lot of us hasn't. And so and then dealing with a new coach, a new coaching staff, trying to get players in and with very limited resources from revenue share and NIL, that was a challenge. And I think that's really was a reflection of what happened. We could and then playing all of our games on the road, so to speak, even though the Houston games were at home. But, that it's one of those years that the perfect storm of problems and negativity came into play, unfortunately. But we have worked really hard to get in the right direction from that standpoint. I think we've done a good job. From talking to Coach Longo, and if you look at the recruiting, the retention of student athletes, the recruiting of student athletes, the numbers are down in that change out from a year ago. Retention of the coaching staff, consistency with that. Because when you look over the time when we've been successful, it's that consistency with a squad level and coaching level to build that and to develop talent. I think with the portal and what's going on in college athletics now, it's extremely difficult from a talent development standpoint. And we're going to see more of this volatility as we go. That's uneasy. The best part about this, and I think what all of our coaches have done a great job is we still have a very positive environment for student athletes and coaches. And we're bringing in good people, I think, as well. I look at even our football team this past year. A lot of the 55 new guys, you don't get to know them as well. But when I was around them, they were good people, and that's a positive. You look at what basketball has done. I think Coach Mudge and the men's side, being able to make adjustments from a year ago and bring in the talent level and the positive people that are in the program is great leadership from that standpoint. You look at Coach Justice being able to retain some student athletes and continue that culture. But then we're going to run into it this year, the volatility of transfer and bringing in some new players. And you're seeing that in a lot of our sports. I think that's the critical part about this is you can't make mistakes at our level. That's the challenging part. When you bring them in, they've got to be able to play. They've got to be able to play immediately. They've got to be good people. So there's a lot of factors involved that people don't realize that you have to be very successful and hit on, where in the past you could afford to make a few mistakes and survive some of those things from that. From a breakdown, right now we're really focused on those four sports and really right now football is the first part of that. And then we'll start dealing with men's and women's basketball that we're meeting from there, baseball and the other sports too as well. But from a percentage standpoint, I don't think we really have anything from that perspective. We're trying to build it with who we are as an athletic department, who we are as a program, and trying to work the budget that can be competitive with our peer universities and conference and continue to grow it over the next 3 to 5 years from that perspective. So that's the way we're approaching it, and I'm pleased with where we're at right now. I hope that by the fall, with some of the things that we were able to do the past few months, especially in football, that we can see some major positives with rolling out the new stadium, the new facility, and we can have some success that we're so used to here at Sam Houston, not only in football, but all of our sports.
Matthew Melendez, question.
Good morning, Mr. Williams.
Hey, Matt. How you doing?
I was just looking for an update on the women's basketball game cancellation. How's the rescheduling looking like? And if it were to be canceled, how do you think it may alter the women's basketball momentum?
It's interesting because when we were at meetings last week, you get there and we knew the weather reports. I'm in conversations with Senior Associate Chris Thompson, we've worked together for so long. and she's in contact with individuals at Missouri State. I'm in contact with the AD at Missouri State. While we're meeting on all the things that we're supposed to be meeting on, I looked at all the different ADs, how we were paired up, and we were talking about weather, travel plans, scheduling, rescheduling. A lot of people don't see that all that discussion going on, and for the 2 days we were together, it was still like that. It was ironic that as I got in, I headed after the meetings, and I'm at the airport. As I'm walking towards my plane back to Houston, our women's team had just arrived in Miami to play that game the next day. And Coach Justin and I had talked about, you'll fly in. We had to make a connection. We were still going to try to play the game. We were going to move the game up a little earlier because of, the way it was going to come in. And then ironically, when they traveled and they got to Dallas, they got shut down. They couldn't get into Springfield. But we'd already made some Chris Thompson did a great job of working with their staff at Missouri State, and were able to do the right thing because it was more about safety and whether or not you could get in to areas. And we didn't want our teams to stay 3 or 4 days. We ran into this last year at Middle Tennessee, getting in and playing that game almost the same week and same week situation. And having to stay over to Monday and Tuesday, that's a long time to be away. And then trying to work logistics on getting them fed, getting them housing, all that kind of stuff. A lot of things that come into play. But I think we made some good decisions and were able to make and do the right decision, and then also reschedule it. I thought we'd announced it, but I could be wrong on this. But I believe it's February 24th. Is that right, Ben? Okay. And
yeah, that's correct. February 24th at Missouri State, 6:30.
And I don't know. It's how the flow of how it affects the team. There's a lot of things that affects teams, and some people don't like to be off. Coaches gripe if they're not successful and they're off. If you play too many games, you see that nationally from everybody. I saw one of our former coaches, Vic Schaefer at Texas, complaining about the schedule in the SEC on the front end, and you're always going to have that. So you just got to make the right decisions, the best decisions. Ironically, we had a tough stretch there, losing to Middle Tennessee and then losing to FIU, and then we got a break, and then it worked out well last night for us. So you just never know. It's about, the thing about athletics is you have so many things you can't control, so many things that you can control, and you just got to adapt to the situation and make it a positive and find a way to be successful. And that's the way we handle it. And I really credit to our women's team, Coach Justice and the student athletes on how they've handled everything and making those adjustments. And I'm just really proud of them. And I'm really happy that they're having such a quality year too as well.
All right, we're going to take a few more questions. We're going a little long on this. Probably go until about 11:30 or so, so we'll try to get these questions in. Tyler Shaw, you're next up on the list.
Yeah, Bobby, I just wanted to ask quickly about the kind of playoff expansion talks and kind of coming to no agreement there with the SEC and Big Ten. Just how do you feel like where Sam Houston and Conference USA fits into all of this? Just the future of college football with the playoff, and I don't know. Do you have any thoughts of kind of what you would like something to postseason to look like?
Well, spent most of my career in FCS and was on the football committee when we expanded, and all the discussions that goes on. And it's kind of funny watching the FBS right now and that playoff committee try to work with some of the things that we dealt with for so long. The biggest change is the amount of money and how it's distributed and different things like that, and the opportunities that go. Of course, with the expansion, that helps schools like us and different things like that to be a part of that. It's really what you see with the 2 schools that got in the playoff, and I know there's a lot of debate about that. I think that's great for college athletics and college football, the more that you can give people an opportunity. That's one of the reasons why I think the basketball tournaments have been so positive, and even the baseball and softball tournaments, is you want to give us an opportunity, even though schools like us at certain levels and competing with the Big Ten or the SEC or the Big 12, that's more of a challenge because of the financial discrepancies involved of playing for a high-level national championship and some of those things. But, I'm all for opportunity. I'm more, some of the games were just really, really good, and it was nice seeing a lot of those. It was enjoyable to watch. And I think it was really good for the fans, and it was great for college athletics, especially college football. So I don't know. It's not in our decision making. It's come down to two conferences making all the decisions, and I'm not sure if that's good or bad or whatever. That's a whole different debate that we could last forever. But I hope that we continue to grow and do it the right way and give people as many as opportunities you can, so you can have those unique success stories. I mean, even with Indiana being in the Big Ten for so long and not being very good in football and being more of a basketball school, that was fun to come out of nowhere and have that type of success. And maybe that's a big positive for the portal and the funding aspect that so many of us are not real happy with and keep fighting against, so to speak, and trying to figure it out. But, somebody, when they do something like that, it gives you hope to be in play. And I also thought about James Madison. What was it? 4 years ago, we were playing them here in the semifinal to go to Frisco, and now they're having an opportunity to do that. Well, from my perspective, we have a lot of things we have to do to get to a point like that, but at least it's an opportunity that we could. If we can figure this out the right way, that could happen for us. And that kind of gets you excited from my perspective, because I'm extremely competitive. I like to be successful, like to win, and we've done that here for a long period of time. And, to win a national championship 4 years ago, to win our first major bowl game at the FBS level, there's some things that we have been trying to do and achieve, but, not sure we could do it, but we did. So maybe that next step is we can get the football program moving in the right direction consistently. Maybe we could have that opportunity in the future. And I hope that excites our fan base. I know it excites me.
Back around to Ben Sorrells.
Yeah, Bobby, I just wanted to see kind of what your future plans were as athletic director. I think your current contract goes through the end of August. Just what your personal plans were going forward after this year and going into next year.
That's a great question. A lot of my colleagues, when Joe Castiglione at Oklahoma announced his retirement, the interesting part about Joe is when I was playing football at Rice, he was our first fundraiser, I think, at Rice. And that was my junior year. And then he left, and, he's been at OU for a long time. And I know when they made that announcement, they said he was the longest-serving FBS athletic director at one university. And I went, whoa, wait a minute. Joe was named in July of '98. I was named here in April of '98. So I kind of won that battle, and I give him a hard time about that. But I've been very blessed to be here for 44 years. I think, at some point in time, I know that I'm at the end of my career, so to speak, and I'm really amazed at, with all the changes that have gone on the last 4 years and the challenges that we've had, that there's some things that I agree with, some things I don't, but every day I walk in here, I'm trying to make this place better. Because nobody knows this football program or athletic program better than me. Nobody's had 44 years of direct, positive, negative decision-making, or whatever you want to call it, input or impact on a program like I have. And I'm very proud of that. And I'm very thankful that Dr. White has extended my contract over the time that she's been president. And I really appreciate that. And I never dreamed that I even, could continue this long in that. But I'm still having fun. I'm still energized. There's some things I want to get in place for the next leadership group. And I think if we can continue on that path, and we will, I'm not going to go forever. Don't worry. I know some people like me as AD. Some people don't. I understand that. That's part of the job. But I really care deeply about this university. And, I mentioned back in the fall, my wife and Janet, we made a commitment to this program financially. And a lot of people don't realize, but, lifetime giving overall, Janet and I are in the top 100 in this department of anybody. So I always joke with our coaches and alumni and donors. I said, I'm not only the athletic director and in some cases your supervisor, but I'm a major athletic donor, and I'm really proud of that. And a lot of people don't realize that. And so we've invested so much in our university in this program as a family, and I do want to see the press box. I mean, that's been a dream of mine for a long time. And but I know that I'm getting a short period of time, and I will figure it out. But I'm not, as long as I can continue to have a positive impact, and Dr. White likes me to be here, I'll stay as long as I feel I can. But I know it's a shorter time frame.
All right, we're going to take a couple more questions, and then we're going to let Mr. Williams get about his day. Next question is going to come from Colton Foster.
Yeah, just curious. Baseball got the new turf this year, as well as a kind of new addition with the concrete slabs. Could you just speak to what those are, and then what other upgrades could they possibly see before hosting the CUSA tournament next year?
Well, I think we got a lot of different things going on. The field was really positive because it was when we put that in. It's been a while, but with the insurance situation, the flood that we had, we were able to upgrade that, and when we knew that was happening, that's why we wanted to be a part of hosting, the baseball championship from Conference USA. And then we're just trying to expand fan experience areas and different things like that, which we've done various levels temporarily over the years. But I think we're trying to get more permanent structures from that. I know some of the things from a media area and some of the entertainment and different things that we have for visiting programs and anything like that, we've got to continue to expand on. And we're looking at and monitoring that as we grow so that we can show that we're given a first-class facility. That's one thing about when we built baseball softball complex. It was a game changer for us in so many different ways. And even back when, if it had fallen just right, instead of having to go to Florida State, we would have hosted a regional that year, a super regional that year. And it really accelerated what we were trying to look at on how we can, that's always kind of been the goal. But it comes down to funding, too, in a lot of ways. And it comes down to, how you allocate your resources. And also the fan, support and how we go about doing that. And, I think you're finding with our facilities, too, we're not overbuilding. And I think a lot of universities are reducing a lot of things and creating more of an atmosphere. I look at if you've been to the Coliseum, when we added finally the pull-out seats on the student section and on our bench sides and scores table, that's just changed the environment with that. Especially with it makes a crowd that we have even more engaged and louder and different things like that. And I think that's what we're trying to do even in Bowers with some of the areas from that. Everybody says, are you going to put in a end zone and all that? Well, no, we're trying to put areas, upgrade the current areas that we have, and then expand some specific, whether you call them party deck area or fan experience areas, whatever. And I think that's what we're trying to do in baseball in so many different ways, and softball as well. And then also, once you build a facility, you outgrow it really quickly. I am excited about the West Side complex at Bowers because I think we've got a few years, as big as it's going to be, that we can really have an opportunity to grow into it and still have a very positive presentation before we start getting, it too full, so to speak.
All right, we got one more question. We're going to give it to Jonathan Buckner, last question of the day.
Hey, Bobby, I think you'll like this one. We're currently lacking a rival right now since we lost to SFA. Rice, your alma mater, also just lost a rival in U of H. Has there been any discussion there and kind of filling that spot with them and kind of building a Texas State UTSA style rivalry down the road here?
You know, I've been here so long, and with the two main rivals we had was Texas State and SFA, and it took us a while to get that game with Texas State a few years ago, and that was always fun, and it's always nice to win that game again, so to speak. There's always discussions in scheduling. We're trying to do that in as many sports as we can. I think football is a little more challenging because of the way things are scheduled, and what we've had to do in this transition in football. Of trying to get schedules, work schedules, and all that type of thing. And then trying to get our philosophy. When we were in FCS, we had a certain philosophy, and we knew, even with conference change, we knew kind of what we had. It's a lot easier now because I remember back in 2004, we were scheduling 6 non-conference games because the Southland was so volatile in membership. I think we've been dealing with a little bit of that because of the amount of change, and especially in Conference USA with UTEP and La Tech leaving and different things like that, and us being kind of out there on an island. And it's a little different, too, since we're not a bus league and we're flying from that standpoint. And losing a bus trip with La Tech was, that's always tough. So some of those things are always coming into play, and then trying to find kind of those organic rivalries from there. I think we had a little bit with Jacksonville State because of our history with them in the FCS playoffs, but also going back to when they were in the Southland Football League back in the mid-'90s, late '90s. And some of those staff members that were at Jacksonville State back then are Greg Sykes is one of them. And we've known each other for a long time, and trying to, and we've had some unbelievable, some games, and unfortunately we've fallen short in a couple of those where we should have won or could have won. But, some of those things become natural as you have competitive battles against each other. And I think that's going to take a little bit of time from that aspect and grow it organically from that standpoint. But as far as SFA and some of the other schools, I will start looking at it as our scheduling stabilizes a little bit more, and we are still trying to determine a scheduling philosophy of what's best for us when it comes to so many different phases. When it comes to the type of crowd we would have, the competitive situation, how it affects us in rankings, net, whatever you want to call it. And then you're also dealing with home and homes or game guarantee type situations. So in every sport, we're still analyzing that. And with the amount of change in conference movement, that's been a challenge, and it's been more of a difficult challenge than we thought it might be.